Seches Nazir Daf known as Tes, the first half of the Daf concludes the Gemara's discussion about the halachas of Lois Silvash with a few halachos and an explanation of a brisa. Then we get to two Mishnayos, a lengthy Mishnah discussing the situations in which Nazirim are Sveikos and how we deal with them. So let's begin. The Gemara is bringing a second version of a Gemara we've seen earlier. In this version, we have Rav Chia bar Abba quoting of Yochanan, who says that somebody who removes the hair from his armpit or from the erva area gets malchus. And here, in this version, he explains for what reason. He says that it's a violation of lo yilbash. The Torah says that a man may not wear the clothing of a woman, which includes doing the activities and the grooming that is particular to women. It says two things. It says lo yikli gever alisha, lo yilbash gever simlas isha, and it calls them both toyeva. At the end of the pasuk, it says ki toyavas Hashem elikecha kol se'ela. So Rabbi Yochanan is saying that removing the hair in these places violates lo yilbash. Then the Gemara asks that contradicts a brisa that says that it's only derabanan. So the Gemara answers he's backed up by a different brisa which says that it's deraisa. And the Gemara quotes the brisa, says someone who removes the hair of the beis hashechi, it's the armpit, and the beis ha'erva violates the iser of lo yilbash gever simlas isha. Someone asks the first Tana that holds that that's derabanan, what does he learn from lo yilbash gever? What's that for? That is because there are two psukim there. It says lo yikli gever alisha, lo yilbash gever simlas isha. So what are the two things? And don't tell me that it's a tayeva. You can understand it simply that a man should not wear women's clothing, because the Torah says that in the latter half of the pasuk and calls it tayeva there. In this part of the pasuk, it doesn't call it a tayeva. So what's this referring to? So the Gemara gives two explanations. The Brisa gives two explanations. The first one is the Tanakama. He says that he should not put on women's clothing and go sit between the women, and that a woman cannot put on men's clothing and go sit between the men. Now, the Gemara brings a different shot, and that's Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov, and he says these two psukim are used as follows. It says, Lo yikli gever al isha is to teach that she cannot put on weapons. It's referring to kli gever. She can't arm herself with weapons and go to war. Lo yilbash gever simlas isha, that is that a man should not groom himself in the manner in which a woman does. Now, Rav Nachman says that a Nazir is permitted. He has long hair, or perhaps that's the reason he's permitted to do these groomings of a woman. And the Gemara says the halacha is not like him. Now the Gemara quotes another halacha. The Rabbanah said to Rav Shimon bar Abba. So they asked, we see that Rav Yochanan has no hair in his armpits. So what's the reason? Isn't it us to remove that hair? So he answered, because it fell out because of old age. Then the Gemara brings an incident. There was someone who was chayiv malchus in front of Rabbi Ami, and as part of the malchus procedure, they removed his shirt, and they saw that he hadn't shaved his armpits. So Rabbi Ami said he's obviously Talmid Chacham, because he knows that the halacha is that it's usher to shave one's armpits, and therefore you can release him from this reason, whatever the reason they had, that he should have the malchus is dismissed because of that. And then where it says that Rav asked a question to Rabbi Chia, is it permitted to shave armpit hair? That is with scissors, not with razor. Razors for sure aser. And he answered that it's aser. So he said, but it grows long and it annoys people. It becomes very uncomfortable. So he said, son of Talmid Chacham, he said that there is a limit. The hair can't grow too long. When it gets to a certain length, it falls out. So it's not going to grow longer than is comfortable. So now the Gemara says, Rav asked Rabbi Chia, can he rub it so that it falls out? He told him it's aser. He said, can he rub it through his clothing? So according to the first version, he was asking, can he rub it through his clothing to remove the hair? And he said it's mutter. In the second version, he was asking during tefillah, when he cannot get his hands dirty with skin contact, can he rub it to remove lice or whatever he needs to do? Can he do that through his clothing? And on that he says aser. And that the Gemara concludes the halacha is not like that. Now we get the next Mishnah, and this refers back to our last Mishnah and continues. The last Mishnah, we had two Nazirim. One of them became Tameh, and we don't know which one. So over there we had a solution that they each bring a carbon Tuma and carbon Tara b'shutfis. And each one says, whoever's the Tar, the carbon Tar is for him, or whoever's the Tameh, the carbon Tameh is for him. So now the problem is that one of these two Nazirim, he dies. And now you can't do this carbon combination anymore. So what are you supposed to do now? So you have one of the Nazirim, and he's not sure if he is Tameh or Tahar and doesn't know what type of a carbon he should bring. So the Mishnah, it's a long one, but in the beginning it advises as follows: he should bring another person from the shuk, and he should say, you're going to become a Nazir al Tanai. You're going to be a Nazir like the guy who died. If the guy who died was Tameh, so then your Nazirus, like his, is only going to start 30 days from now. If the guy who died was Tahar, so just like he would have been a Nazir right now, you're a Nazir right now. Okay, so now, what do you do now? So now they bring two karbanos together. So they keep Nazirs for 30 days, and then they bring carbon Tuma and a carbon Tahara. And they say as follows: if the Nazir, the original Nazir who was a suffix, is Tameh, so the carbon Tuma is his, and that means that the new guy is a Nazir now for these 30 days. He was a Nazir right away, so the carbon Tahara is his, no problem. If the opposite is true, if the old Nazir was really Tahar, so then the carbon Tahara is his. The problem is, then the new guy, he wasn't a Nazir at all after 30 days, so he doesn't have to bring a carbon Tahara misafik, carbon Tuma. So that carbon Tuma that they brought is a carbon Tuma misafik, and therefore it can't be eaten. Now, then they wait another 30 days. Now they bring only a carbon Tahara, and they say as follows: if the old guy was the one who was originally Tameh and now he's Tahar, so this carbon Tahara is his, and the new guy has already brought a carbon Tahara before in the last round, after the first set of 30 days. If the opposite is true, the old guy was Tahar, he already brought his carbon Tahara before, so then he is nothing now, he doesn't have to bring anything. So this carbon Tahara that's being brought now after 30 days, this is the carbon of the new guy who kept his Naziris now in the second set of the 30 days. Now, this is all the first opinion in the Mishnah. Ben Zayma disagrees. Ben Zayma says you can't make somebody make himself a Nazir al Tanai like that just to help you. So here's what you do. He has to keep first 30 days and then another 30 days. And which one is the Naziris B'Tahara? Which one is the Naziris B'Tuma? We don't know. As a matter of fact, the first Naziris is either Naziris B'Tuma or Naziris B'Tahara. Then he ends that. And he has to do the second Naziris on the tzad that the first Naziris is B'Tuma, now he's a Nazir again. If the first Naziris is B'Tahara, so then he could have ended it right then, but he's going to go for another 30 days anyway. The problem is what you do with the karbonos. So at the end of Nazir's Tahara, he has to bring an Oyla Achatas and a Shlamim. Those are all behemoths. So he brings those. No problem. He brings those then. Now, what does he do at the end of the first 30 days? That's what he does at the end when he for sure finished everything. At the end of the first 30 days, he may have to bring a carbon chatas. He may have to bring a carbon tahara. He may have to bring a carbon tuma. A carbon tuma is an oilas ha'oif, a chatas ha'oif, and an asham. So what he does is he brings the chatas, and that's a suffix. He brings the oila. He brings the behema instead, and that behema is going to serve as the Oila. Either it'll be a nidava if he wasn't chayav anything, or it'll serve as his actual chiyuv. And then for the rest of his karbanos b'tahara, he waits until after the second set of 30 days, and he fulfilled those. Then you don't have to bring it right away; you could bring it later. So that is Bezeb's opinion. The Gemara says Rabbi Yeshua disagreed because he ends up bringing his kamaris in splitsies. He brings the chatzis and the oila if he was betahara, and only later does he bring the shlamim. So the Gemara says even though Rabbi Yeshua disagreed and he didn't like that you're splitting up the set of karbanos, the Chachamim agreed with Ben Zayma. The Gemara has only a brief comment on this Mishnah. The Gemara says, "What is Rabbi Yeshua's problem? Why can't they bring the karbanos in splitsies? What's the issue?" So Gemara has two responses to this. The Gemara says that Rabbi Yehuda said in the name of Shmuel, it's not really a problem. Rabbi Yeshua is just saying it to sharpen the Talmidim, to show it's not a problem to ask a bad question. Feel free to ask questions, don't be embarrassed. Rav Nachman hadn't heard that. Rav Nachman said, he expressed surprise. What does Rabbi Yeshua want? He should store away the innards and bring them later with the later karbanas. How are you supposed to do that? He wasn't understanding what it was that Rabbi Yeshua was asking.